Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Setco Automotive Financial Year 20 and Quarter 1 FY 21 earnings conference call. Today, we have with us the senior management represented by Mr. Harish Seth, Chairman and Managing Director, Mr. J.S. Gujral, Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Vinay Sahane, Chief Financial Officer. Before we begin, I would like to add that some of the statements to be made in today's discussion may be forward-looking in nature. We will begin the call with the opening remarks from the management, after which we will have the forum open for interactive Q&A session. I would now request Mr. Harish Seth to make his opening remarks. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you all on this particular investor conference call. This has been a very unusual time, last 7-8 months, as you know, and that also is reflected in our results. First of all, combining both annual results along with the first quarter results, which is probably the first time in 45 years must be happening with our company. I hope all of you are well in this COVID scenario, you, your family and all. Fortunately for us also at the company level, the very few people had to deal with COVID as such directly. Out of maybe 1,500 employees together, not more than 10 must have had to go through the virus. But they are all well and there have been no casualties, which is the most important part. As you are aware, industry, particularly commercial vehicle industry when I'm talking about, has been going through turmoil since last 2 years after reaching its peak in 1819 when the production was the highest. In 1920 suffered considerably. The production was down by 55% over 1819 production. And I have not seen anything like this ever before, such a huge drop. So that was big drop. It had a combined effect of very many things. To start with in a small way, but GST, which made transportation quite efficient. The truck owners who used to take 10 days to go to Delhi and come back, they could do the same round trip in 8 or 9 days. That improved efficiency, which is very, very good. Immediately after that, axle load increase of about 25% was permitted by the government. That hit the vehicle manufacturers very badly because suddenly there was an excess capacity in the market to the tune of 35-40% because of that, combined with GST. And the last year, introduction of BS6 vehicles. And with the Supreme Court coming out very clearly saying, no sale will be registered after 31st March. So it implies from January onwards, the dealers had started reducing their stocks. So all trucks can be registered when they are sold by 31st March. So March production went for a toss. Despite all this, reduction of 55%, our company, Setco Auto, overall reduction in the business has been at about 30%. Because of the support from the aftermarket, we were able to withstand the big loss. Going forward, but that's been history. And that has resulted in Setco declaring a loss this year. For the first time in its last 20 years since it came out, around 2001, 2002, because of the pandemic, we decided to skip also dividend, which is also the first time. Now the results are there. Let's talk about the future. Setco Auto, we feel that industry also it's bottomed out to start with. So we see a gradual improvement in the vehicle production. Though overall this year vehicle production could be down by about, sales could be down by about 20%, 25%. It's anyone's guess, but this is what we understand. But Swedco Auto will still have a certain growth thanks to its aftermarket business. And we see this year as a comparatively much better year compared to the last year. And coming years would be still better for us. And that's about that. I think we can start with the question and answers on that note. They're open.
Thank you.
You want to begin?
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin with the question and answer session. Anyone wishing to ask a question may please press star and 1 on your touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Sameer Gupta, an investor. Please go ahead.
Hi, Arita. Good afternoon, and thanks for taking my questions. I just have a few questions and I'll ask them in one go. The first one is that we've seen that Q1 has been a really bad quarter for the auto sector, especially MHCVs, with most of them falling about 70-80%. But what kind of recovery are you seeing going into Q2 in terms of OEM sales? And this is the first one. The second one is you've mentioned in the presentation that there are some fixed cost savings that have been taken up by the company. So if you could throw some light on that, on what are the kind of savings, and will this be going forward, even continuing in FY 21 for the entire year? And lastly, also, could you also throw some light on what are the diversifications that you have done, especially moving into tractor segments as well, apart from MHCV? Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. I'm J.S. Gujral, and I'll be answering this question. As we all know, Q1 has been the lockdown quarter for various reasons. First is because the first month, April itself, was under full lockdown. And then in May and June, partial opening started. Different states had different protocols. We work in an industry with a very diversified supply chain, not only in India but also dependent globally. So there were a lot of challenges to get the production back to start mode, caused by this sudden lockdown. We are very happy to share that we were amongst the first companies to restart the operation on a single shift basis around 2nd of May. A week prior to that, we had started opening up the plant, cleaning and sanitizing and implementing all the new requirements to run the plant. And we did face challenges both from our supply chain as well as from our customer side. Some of the customer plants opened much later. So Q1 all in all was a bad quarter, not only for OEM but also for aftermarket, because there was a similar issue at dealerships, there was a similar issue at service stations, and so on and so forth. But the good news is that as we have managed to overcome all these challenges in Q1, it did give us a lot of time to sit back and reflect on what really we need to do as a company to manage ourselves in the new normal. A lot of focus went in during this lockdown month to have a very deep down analysis of all our cost parameters, whether they are variable, whether they are fixed. We had proactively started some fixed cost rationalization towards the last quarter of FY20, and we only pushed it forward and took this crisis as an opportunity to right size our cost structure, bring our break-even points down. In Q2, we are seeing three different trends. The first trend is that everyone is better than Q1 because Q1 was anyway a disaster. The second trend is that aftermarket is coming back much more strongly than was envisaged. Rightly so, because new trucks are not yet getting sold and the existing fleet is the one which is running. And in the first quarter there was a lockdown, so a lot of these repairs and things like that also got postponed. So as we talk in August, from August onwards, we are very happy to share that our order position in aftermarket is back to pre-COVID levels. OE industry has started picking up in Q2, and we expect from Q3, if not from September, that on a year-on-year basis the drop will not be there. Those of us who track this industry would appreciate that Q2 and Q3 last year were not very good quarters for the industry because they were destocking for BS6. So there is a low base advantage which we have in Q2, Q3 as well as Q4. But in Q1 we all know the industry was down by around 90% plus. So on the demand side, we expect in Q2 to be around 75-80% of pre-COVID levels on the whole. Going forward in Q3 onwards, we expect it to be better than last year in terms of demand side. The third important thing is that we have to gear up to meet the demand. Like I shared, we are in a ramp-up mode. We started with one shift. We have now shifted back to two shifts from last month. All the supply chain bottlenecks also similarly have been overcome. There was this issue of migrant labor with some of the suppliers who had gone back in the lockdown. Most of it is now coming back as the country unlocks. So from Q3 we are expecting that our production would be back to a level of 50 crores a month, which is what our FY19 turnover of around 620 crores we had achieved. So that is what the outlook on the demand is. There are some promised government demand boosters which are still in the pipeline. We have been talking a lot of this, so I am not going to mention them separately, but there is talk of GST reduction and scrappage policy. If and when they happen, they will only add to the demand, and whatever we have talked earlier is not assuming this. So this will be an added bonus for the government to decide to support the industry. On fixed cost saving, we've had a very deep cut on all our fixed costs. Some of it would start getting reflected already in our Q1 results, if you would have seen. And as the year progresses, you will see the impact of this because this is progressing on a month-to-month basis. And FY22 would be the first year when you will have the full year impact of the fixed cost savings which we have done. The last question was on diversification. So the cyclical nature of the industry plus this pandemic crisis has also made us look more closely at other opportunities. We are very happy to share that what we had started on farm tractor development is now progressing at a very fast pace with our prospective customers showing keen interest to induct us as a second source. On our subsidiary Lavacast, we have had a very positive impact of the pandemic, and that is one of the benefits if we were to count the few benefits of the pandemic. There is a sense which is clearly seen in European and American customers to move out of China and have a second source for castings. And we have been literally flooded during the lockdown with RFQs, which total to almost 50% of the capacity of the foundry itself. Not all of them will fructify into business, but on a very conservative basis, we expect long-term business of between 5,000 to 8,000 metric tons a year into exports, which will again help us de-risk the cyclicity of the local market. Having said this, we know the commercial vehicle industry has bottomed out, and therefore we are now maybe a quarter or two away from, at best, for a visible growth to start manifesting as far as the OE, medium and heavy commercial vehicle industry itself is concerned. So I hope that answers your questions.
Yeah, this is quite useful. I'll get back in the queue. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dipali Bansal, an investor. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. So I have a few questions. My first question is, what would be the status on the operating margins with the decreased sales, and how much has the company penetrated in the tractor segment exactly, and how much sales are we expecting from there?
Yeah, so as you can see from our Q1 results, at the contribution level, we have maintained the contribution. Obviously, with the turnover being lower, whether we look at FY20 or FY21 first quarter, EBITDA levels will come down. But as we get back on getting the top line, the margins will improve, because we just shared that we've done a restructuring of fixed costs. So that will reflect in higher EBITDA margins once we are back to, let's say, activity levels of 50 crores per month.
Okay. And how much have you penetrated in the tractor segment, sir?
See, tractor segment, we've been working on this. It's a long qualification process because there are different seasons and so on and so forth. In between 1 year, we all know tractor segment also went down, and therefore there was a little bit of go slow from the customer side. But what we are very happy to share is, along with the RFQs for the castings, the only bells or only phones which were ringing during the corona crisis lockdown were from prospective tractor OEMs. So they were sensing a rise in the industry in line with the rural income. We have seen the GDP breakup also, that rural economy is holding up very well. Crops have been good, monsoons have been good. So right now we are talking to 2 manufacturers, and we expect supplies to start within the third quarter.
Third quarter, okay, sir. I have another question. So you mentioned about lava cast. You said there have been some positive effects due to the COVID situation. Can you mention what positive effects did actually occur on lava castings?
See, on lava cast, like I said, there is a distinct move to de-risk China sourcing by the European and US customers who buy a lot of castings from China. So we've been flooded with RFQs from all the major Tier 1 system suppliers, and the total RFQs which we have got are around 15,000 metric tons a year. And like I said, not all of them will materialize, but we are very happy to share that we have closed commercials with one major supplier for a business of around 5,000 metric ton now per annum, and this is at 30% share of business. Once we start supplying and once they are satisfied with our performance, this can only go up. because normally when a second source is inducted, typically you will give 25-30% share to that source to start with, and then based on performance, you will tend to have a 50-50 share of business. Similarly with others, there are a lot of discussions which are progressing despite the COVID. The only issue which is coming today for a faster ramp up in this is just the physical inability to travel and do audits. Some of these companies, for example, have not started travel at all. Okay, so maybe it will take a quarter more for them to, start the COVID. But most of these companies have India offices also. So maybe they will finally make a policy where they'll say we'll delegate the audit to the Indian operations and avoid the travel altogether.
Okay.
And of course, this is foreign exchange, and of course the pricing etc. is better than domestic, so it adds to our mix also. Plus it helps us manage the cyclicity.
Okay. Another question if I may ask, sir. What are the capacity utilization levels right now? As you said that from quarter 3 we'll be back to approximately 50 crore a month. What are the current situations?
See, in SETCO our capacity on a value basis is around 800 crores. With the improved mix post BS6, where we are selling higher size clutches, where the unit price and margins are better, this would easily go up to 850 to 900 crores. This is our existing capacity for which all the capexes etc. have been done in the prior years. We are only waiting for the demand to come, and as and when the demand comes, we are ready to service it. Whatever we had to go through in terms of a slow ramp up post the lockdown, that is also behind us. And therefore, at 50%, at 50 crores, we are at around 70-75% capacity utilization. As far as Lava Cast is concerned, our capacity is 25,000 metric ton. The captive requirement would be for this level of activity around 20,000 metric tons. And we have couple of strategic non-captive sources also. So we can deploy around 10,000 metric tons to non-SETCO customers. Or that is our plan.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for answering all my questions.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sandeep Pandey from MoneyGram Financial Services. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity, sir. So I just wanted to understand your overall aftermarket service, the business contribution in the overall business in the last couple of years. How the trend is going on there, and what is the future for that business? And couple of questions are there. I'll ask you one by one.
See, on the aftermarket business, the trend has been that every year aftermarket has been growing at a faster pace than OE. Even in FY19, aftermarket was more than OE business when OE was at its peak. So even at the high point of the OE cycle, aftermarket business is about 55%.
55. Okay.
But if you look at last year or if you look at this year, this figure is going to be more like 70% because aftermarket is servicing vehicles which are already sold and OE is servicing vehicles which are to be produced to be sold. So there is a fundamental difference. The demand sensitivity just varies with the economic activity, but in new vehicles it is amplified a lot. The older vehicles have to run, so they will still consume spare parts. So when economic activity is good, the market grows at around 15-20%. When you have a bad year like last year, the market may contract only by 10%. Unlike OE, which contracts by 50%. So currently OE is only 8% in the first quarter if you see, and aftermarket is more than 80%. But on a full year basis, we expect this year aftermarket to be around 70% of our turnover.
Okay. And what is the margin difference compared with the OEM?
So the margin in aftermarket is at least on a net basis averaged out around 8%, 9% higher than what we realize in OE. We have two sets of segments in this, what we sell to the aftermarket of OE customers and what we sell directly in our own brand. In our own brand, the margins are still higher, and what we sell to OE, we typically get 5 to 6% more. And in our own brand, we get around 15% more. So it averages out based on the turnover to around 7-8%.
Okay. Sir, I see your interest cost is going up continuously for last 3-4 years. 50 crore has become now almost 60 crore is hitting, 15 crore per quarter. So what is the status on that? I mean, how you are looking to reduce this interest cost? Because it is taking almost 60 to 70% of the EBITDA every year.
Yeah, I think the interest cost has to be seen in line with the investments we had done to meet our strategic requirements, whether they are in lava cast or whether they are in-house on the diaphragm plant. We also put a very modern press facility with progressive tooling for taking care of our assembly requirements. It's a highly automated line with very little manpower and high-speed line. Now, most of these investments, in hindsight, we can all say perhaps we could have deferred it by a year and had lower interest cost. But believe me, when the investments were made, there was a waiting period for capex. So we were fighting with the capex suppliers to give us early deliveries. And then once you have fired the bullet of the capex and the downturn starts, you have anyway paid 50%, 60%, 70%. Makes no sense to keep delaying it. Better to spend the balance 30% and install it, and then as the upcycle comes, the earnings would take care of the interest cost additional which have come easily. Right now it looks a bit stretched because the top line has deflated. Had the top line not deflated, it would have been like routine.
But still, what will be the after 2 years down the line comparatively now?
So 2 years, like we just shared, up to 850-900 crore, there is no major capex. So as our turnover grows from last year 450 to almost 2 times, everything is available to take care of interest costs. We can even go for early payment of loans, etc. Cash flows permitting. What has happened is, that we have timed the capex and then the market has come down. So it's been kind of a double impact. That you started off the repayment of the capex at the time when the industry was coming down. But now that is behind us. So
okay. So what is the status of that total debt position as of June end?
Total what?
Net debt, gross debt including.
So adding to what Mr. Gujral, this is Harish said.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Adding to what Mr. Gujral said on the debt side, in 18-19, when we had topped 630 crores and we were under a lot of pressure from OEs about increasing the capacity as they had envisaged a growth. Also, we were falling short in our business supplies to IM because of the tremendous growth. So we planned certain investments and all that, and we said we'll take it to the level of at least increase by maybe about 30% over 18-19 capacity. So that capacity has been built now. Unfortunately, business went down, and as Gujral said, the interest income will be nothing when you compare to the overall EBITDA margin of the company. And at 800-900 crores, it will be a small percentage comparatively of EBITDA. Maybe at about 20-25%, 15-20% going forward.
Okay.
That has not happened. So as today, in absolute terms, interest looks like a very large amount. Once we start moving into the positive direction, some of the loans would have been repaid also in 2 years' time. So the banks also in normal repayment. So the loans will come down. Companies' profitability allowed liquidity. So all that
I
impact.
got your point, but I haven't got the debt, total debt amount. Roughly debt amount as of June.
As of June, the total debt was around 290 crores on a standalone.
This is standalone consolidated.
Standalone. And consolidated was around 430 crores.
430 crore.
So just to give you a sense, consistently our contribution levels are around 27%. Assuming that they don't increase, on a conservative basis, 100 crore increase in top line above our break-even will mean 27 crores flows into EBITDA. And therefore, at 600 crores, we straight away get almost 2 times the current interest coverage. Right?
Yeah.
That's the rough math.
Okay. And sir, the last one about this pledge percentage of your promoters' holding. It has been quite increasingly every quarter last 2.5 years. So how do you see this to come down?
See, what has happened is we have not borrowed any money in last 2 years at the promoter level. But unfortunately, because of the share prices went down over a period of last 2 years, it has been commercial vehicle industry and then the business and then investment in a small cap fund. SEBI's guideline in the earlier time, not allowing mutual fund to invest. Giving all that thing, the prices went down. So we had to cover. And that's the reason promoters pledging went on increasing. I think we expect sooner now with the business stabilizing, that part will again start coming down. In another year or so, it would be back to what it used to be at 2018 level, which was about 30-35%. Something like that could happen.
Okay, 2 years down the line.
Over a period of 2 years, as the market starts improving, there's only one way. And also at promoter level, we'll also are working on some of the thought processes whereby money would be raised, so that would be also bring down the pledging. So there are combinations we are working on. Right time to come into the industry. We haven't applied or finalized anything yet.
Anything from the open market, if promoters are investing, anything is possible in the next couple of quarters?
In next couple of quarters, out of things, at the moment to know, because markets are bad. Let the market stabilize. It may take under COVID, nobody knows. Because right now its ups and downs are so much.
And since you said Q3 you will be hitting 50 crore per quarter, right?
Yes, the company will do well, but that doesn't mean that how the investors such as you will translate that into the demand of the company's thing. You don't know that. But yes, earning per share, the EBITDAs would be very good going forward in the coming years.
One more last thing, sir. It is related to the first question only. You will be focusing more on the aftermarket or on the OEM side, since 55% will become 70%. So it means the focus would be more on the aftermarket side, and on the industry wise also, right?
Actually, related to the demand we have, number one. Number two, we are very happy to share that all our BS6 migration has happened very, very successfully. The initial results of the products, etc., which have been put in the market are exceeding our as well as our customers' expectations. These clutches are also larger size clutches, so obviously the realization and margins go up. But the fundamental thing remains that for a clutch to get sold for OE, a truck has to be produced. What we don't control is how many of these trucks get produced. However, our policy always is to service OE demand 100%, and that is the reason why over the last 10-15 years, you would have seen consistently we have grown OE share, and for the last 10 years, we still command around 85% of the total OE market, consistently for last 10 years. So there is no such strategy to move away from OE. It is just that aftermarket is more stable. There is more demand at the moment from aftermarket, and therefore the ratio is more trucks are there, and therefore the ratio is getting skewed. But if OE were to hit the peak cycle, it will go back to 40% what it was in FY 18-19.
Okay. Sir, any new order you have recently got or not on the OE side?
I think when you are at 85%, you are happy to maintain that share, and that has been our strategy.
Okay.
But around 5 years back, we were not supplying to a couple of manufacturers of trucks. And we put a strategy in place, and we added customers like MAN, which subsequently closed down. We added Mahindra and Mahindra. All of them still continue to buy for us. For example, MAN is still buying for us for aftermarket. And Mahindra is buying from us for both OE as well as aftermarket. So we have all the customers being supplied. There is little headroom to grow. On the OE side, the OE diversification is more into farm tractors because that is a segment which we are not there.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thanks a lot and all the best.
Thank you. Reminder to the participants, anyone wishing to ask a question, may please press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Apurva Mehta from AM Investments. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. Sir, just wanted to ask on the export front where we were targeting the US aftermarket sales. And, we were very gung-ho once upon a time that we should do very well over there. Any update on that?
Yeah. See, we still are extremely gung-ho about the clutch export. I have talked about Lavacast, which was not in focus, but now we see a big opportunity on the castings front, so I'll not be repeating that. As far as the clutch exports is concerned, there is a fundamental difference that clutches in US, for example, were never imported from China or, any other country. They were manufactured in US. So the strategy there was to have a full range which we have worked on. We have tested the product, we have seeded the market, and we are at various stages of discussions with major distribution houses there. Many of them have tried our products, come back with very positive reviews. It's just that we are not able to formalize the agreement so far. The moment that agreement happens, we will have a full distribution available to us from day one. Whatever we are selling in our own brand continues to give us repeat sales. So the product acceptance is not a problem. But getting a tie-up done with one of the major players in the market there is, I think, what is the last step which is left. Next 2-3 quarters, hopefully we should be sharing further developments on this.
And can you throw some light on the break-even of Lavacast? At what capacity utilization we should break even, and what are your, First, are we making that the break-even comes down? We have done some cost cutting and everything. So are we seeing that the break-even point has come down and we should do a different, break-even?
So I think we have worked in the last 2 years to stabilize the operations of the foundry, which is reflected that despite the capacity utilization coming down substantially last year to almost 50%, our losses or EBITDA did not move in the same direction, the balance being the improvement. Now, we have also ensured that, for example, our fixed costs are down to 2017-18 levels now. So there also we have done this. With all this, at around 60%, we start breaking even in the foundry.
Okay. So this new order which we are talking of 5,000 tons, when it will start? Means when are we going to, start production, and when can we see some numbers coming from that?
It will take couple of quarters.
Okay. So by this, maybe January.
FY21, yeah. FY21 last quarter, maybe we should be doing the first shipment.
Okay.
Yeah. A little bit of it, like I said, is also dependent on whether they waive off the visit of the European team to audit our plant and delegate it to their Indian team. Normally they are reluctant to do this because the buyer feels that unless I see the plant, I am responsible back home. But all these mindsets were before the corona.
Okay.
So I'm sure they would also be thinking how long we can wait,
Okay.
So I don't think they're going to wait for next 2 years, for example, if travel is not allowed, right? They'll find a way, right?
Okay. So we can see from Q1 of next year the sales picking up?
Lava cast definitely. Lava cast will be better this year compared to last year based on Setco's own this thing. But if your question is more from an export business perspective, yeah.
Okay. And sir, on the clutch side, we were talking about tractors also. So we were talking with tractors from a long period of time, and we were expecting some good orders and traction from the big tractor companies. But why it has not materialized? Any thought on that?
No, I think in 18-19 there was good traction from OEMs, but we were in that period falling short of capacity. In 1920, the tractor industry went through a downturn. So while we were keen, the customers were a bit slow. Now in the last 2 years, we have put our capacity, etc. issues behind, like what we have shared. So now there is positive traction from their end, and we are equally keen to fructify this relationship. So, and testing is a year and a half, 2 years more than, unlike a truck which runs regularly around the year in the same duty cycle what it is. A tipper will be a tipper for 12 months. In tractors, the applications on which the tractor runs are different. So if you miss a season of testing, it probably waits for another 1 year for the season to come back. So that has been also one of the reasons which caused this delay. And but now most of these testing issues are over with the 2 customers with whom we are in active engagement. So once they start, then others will also get more confidence. The tractor industry is a bit different. The testing protocols are more linked to who else is buying rather than what is my, unlike cars or CV where each company does its own testing. So getting the first couple of customers is always more difficult in the farm sector industry. Once you are in with couple of them, then others will tend to accept your own validation and move ahead.
What is the opportunity size? We can just think of that, what will be our opportunity size in tractor industry?
So in 3 years, we expect the business to be anywhere between 50 minimum to as high as 75 crores in OE alone. And then there is the aftermarket, etc., which happens once OE happens, So it's going to be a sizable part of our OE business. Because roughly, if you see, the tractor market is around 700,000, and the average cost of this clutch is around 6,000 rupees. And these dual double clutches are currently the adoption rate is varying between 20 to 35% depending upon the manufacturer, but it is going up. So it's a growing market where more number of tractors being produced are using these clutches. And we would be the second source. So from a customer side also there is traction, because if they have to put this clutch on more models, they need surety of supplies, which with the 2 source becomes more assured, from their perspective. And once a manufacturer were to put it on a range of tractors in which others are not putting it, then the others are under pressure because they start losing market share because they don't have this feature. So then it spreads fast. Not as fast as the coronavirus, but it's a little bit viral there. Yeah.
Yeah. Sir, and another thing is that what is the value addition in from BS2 to BS6 if you want to, ballpark it? What kind of value addition you see in the OE clutch division?
So, what has happened fundamentally is that the major portion of M&HCV has, because of this 25% Excel norms, etc., also coming in, the horsepower has been upped. Okay. Typically 180 horsepower engines were there in BS4. They have moved up to 210 to 230 horsepower.
Okay.
The moment, and I'm talking of Indian major manufacturers, right?
Yeah.
So these gentlemen, these manufacturers then have to use a bigger clutch to manage the bigger clutch is anywhere between 15 to 30% higher in price.
Okay.
Now, the second issue is because there is more material content and obviously our unit margins are also higher. Percentage may be same. The other issue is that some of these customers, when they were making their engine BS6, there was a specific requirement in certain model gearbox combinations to do a certain dampening, which was an added engineering solution which we had to give. So for that we have added around $4 or $5 per clutch, out of which 50% would be margin. But these are specific for certain specific gearbox engine combinations.
Okay. So more or less, if we ballpark, it would be roughly around 15-20% of
20% is a safe number, yeah. 20% is a safe.
Okay. So whenever we go to the peak level again, when we were there, so we can assume that 20% turnover will directly come from the value addition side.
Yeah. That's why we said our original capacity of 800 at the old mix now goes to 900 at the new mix, because OE in the initial years will be taking this 20%, but as we move forward over next 2, 3, 4 years, a lot of this will also reflect in aftermarket demand when it comes up for replacement. So in the long run, this 20% will be there in all segments. First 2, 3 years primarily in the OE segment, and then also in the aftermarket segment.
The last question, we were also in talks with supplying casting to OEs which were like Telco or other players. So is there any breakthrough in that, because that was one of the key things which we were going to do?
Yeah, there was a very good breakthrough. We got approval from both Tata Motors and Ashok Leyland.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, when we got the approvals, the market started moving down. We were not the first source, right?
Okay.
So when their own demand shrunk by 50%, as per their policy, they will first try and protect their existing sources before really starting buying from us.
Okay.
So it kind of came in at a time when the market was going down. In a way, it's also a learning for us that, if we are supplying clutches to Tata and we are supplying castings to, when you're going up, both go up, and when you come down, both come down. So that is why we are looking at exports as a more sustainable option to de-risk the business.
So broadly, we would, Lava Cast this year, can we reach around 50-60% of turnover or no?
Yeah, we should be hitting around 12,000 plus tons, which is around 50% of the capacity.
Okay. So can we break even in Lava Cast or 50%?
Next year, EBITDA will be positive. Break even will happen, I think, maybe in Q4, but not on a whole year basis.
Okay. And on the
sector has been bad, yeah.
Okay. And on the plus side, on the normal Setco side standalone, should Q2 will be break even? The standalone?
Yeah, I think we should be standalone basis, we should not be making losses Q2 onwards. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks a lot, and yeah, wish you all the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Jaimin Desai from ICICI Direct. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity. Firstly, in respect of Transtadia, could you tell us what the performance was like for the company for FY20, and have the accumulated losses reduced there?
You see, we are discussing right now Setco Auto. Transtadia is a completely separate company. We wouldn't have any of the figures to work here, and it's a different topic altogether. So I would request you not to discuss Transtadia on Setco Auto. We can discuss Lava, we can discuss Setco Auto as much in detail as you like. And Setco Auto is not a major investor in Transtadia. It has very little investment, which was done more than 5 years back. And it's not putting in any more money inside at all since last few years. So really, it doesn't affect Setco Auto in any way.
Sure. But would our investment into Transtadia remain going ahead? I mean, would we be writing down our investments? Are there any such plans there?
Investment has been very small, hardly 10 crores, and I don't see any reason why it will have to be written off in the coming years.
Whatever initial investment was done, we would be following the accounting standards, and any impairment or whatever has to be taken in due course, we look at it. Right now, we don't really envisage, and materially also, it's not a major difference.
All right. Secondly, in respect of Lavacast, by when can we tentatively expect a decision in respect of the restructuring proposal from the lenders? Have you received any feedback recently from them?
We expect this probably in the next 30 to 45 days' time. That's the estimate that has been given to us, the restructuring proposal. It's on the final stage.
All right. And the company is firm that there'll be no liability accruing to us in respect of Lavacast, right?
Liability in what way, if I may ask?
So, in the press release, you've mentioned an amount of 116 odd crores.
Yeah, that SURFACE notice that has come, that is being withdrawn with the restructuring. So, Setco will have no liability, no. That notice is getting withdrawn.
Right. Fine. Thanks. That's it from my side.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Gopali Bansal, an investor. Please go ahead.
Sir, as you just mentioned, that the average cost of clutch in tractors is approximately 6,000 rupees. Do you have any current per unit realization for the OEMs as well?
So like I shared, we expect this business to start towards Q3 end, but pricing, etc., which we have settled is in this range.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone wishing to ask a question, may please press star in 1. Participants, if you wish to ask a question, you may please press star and 1. As there are no further questions, I now hand the conference over to Mr. J.S. Gujral, CEO of Setco Automotive, for his closing comments.
Thank you all for taking time out to attend this investor conference. We, like a lot of us, have gone through a bad period in the last 3 quarters. And as we talk today, we are very confident that the worst is behind us. And in fact, it has given us a good opportunity to deep dive internally and see how costs can be saved. So the crisis really has been an eye-opener in many ways. We've also put in a lot of improvements at the plant level on productivity, costs, so on and so forth. And as the economy comes back, which it will, it's only a matter of time, we are well positioned to exploit the upside. I would also request, if some of you are interested, of course, following the travel protocol, etc., which your company or as individually you follow, to visit our facilities, you can let us know. We can always organize a visit to the plant. Thank you.